All right, so we're diving deep today, folks.
Yeah.
And I mean deep.
Oh, yeah. Deeper than usual.
Deeper than usual, deeper than the ocean, deeper than, well, you get the picture. We're talking about Allah's divine names and attributes. You know, Al-Asma, ul-Husna.
Now, that's a topic that can really make you think.
It really can. And to guide us on this journey, we're going to be leaning heavily on the work of Ibn al-Qayyim. You familiar with him?
Oh, absolutely. A brilliant scholar. Really knew how to connect those big theological ideas to everyday life.
Exactly. That's what we're aiming for today.
Right.
We're not just learning what these names are, but how they can actually, impact our lives.
It's about taking it from theory to practice.
Exactly. So before we get too far into the weeds, let's start with the basics. What are these divine names and attributes in, the simplest terms?
They're basically the perfect qualities of Allah. They show us his infinite nature, his power, all those things that make him, well, him.
Okay, so kind of like descriptions, but much, much bigger.
Way bigger. Think of them like keys that unlock different parts of his being. And they're all over the Quran.
Oh, yeah? Like where?
Well, like in Surah Al, verse 180, Allah says, "And to Allah belong the best names, so invoke him by them." So it's like a direct invitation to use these names when we're praying, making supplication.
Okay, so that brings up a good point. When we talk about supplication, we're talking about making those heartfelt pleas to Allah.
Right, exactly. Like when you need guidance or help or just to feel closer to him.
Right, right. So how does knowing these names, actually change how we approach supplication?
Imagine trying to describe the ocean, but you don't know words like vast, deep, or powerful. Your understanding would be so limited, right?
Yeah, totally.
The divine names, they're like that missing vocabulary. They give you the words to really communicate with Allah.
So instead of just asking for help, you could, call upon a specific name?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you need compassion, you call upon Ar-Rahman, the Most Merciful. Or when you're struggling to make a tough decision, you call upon Al-Hakim, the Wise, for guidance.
Whoa. Okay, I'm starting to see how this works. Now, Ibn al-Qayyim, the guy we mentioned earlier, he had some really interesting ideas about how these names weren't just theoretical concepts.
Oh, absolutely. He was all about connecting these big ideas to how we live our lives.
So what was his, main point?
He believed that just knowing the names wasn't enough. You had to, really internalize their meanings to the point where they actually started to influence your character.
So it's almost like by thinking about these names, by reflecting on them, you actually start to embody those qualities yourself.
Exactly. He even said that each name had a specific effect on the heart.
Wow. Okay, so can you give me an example? How would that work?
Take Al-Sabu, the patient. If you're constantly thinking about Allah's infinite patience, it can actually make you more patient in your own life, especially when things get tough.
So it's like a source of strength.
Exactly, and that's just one example. He talked about how reflecting on Al-Basir, the all-seeing, could lead to more sincerity and mindfulness.
That's interesting. Because Allah sees everything, right? Even what's hidden in our hearts.
Right. So Ibn al-Qayyim said when you really get that, you start to act differently. You're more conscious of your actions even when nobody's watching.
Because you know Allah is watching.
Exactly. Your intentions get purer and your actions become more aligned with your faith. It's like this built-in moral compass.
Okay, wow. I'm getting chills here. This is powerful stuff.
It is. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Ibn al-Qayyim had so many insights about how each name connects to specific virtues and behaviors.
It's amazing how much depth there is to this.
Yeah.
And speaking of depth, we've got a list here of 4 key purposes of the divine names in a believer's life. Want to dive into those?
Let's do it.
All right, so first up, we have these names provide a framework for supplication. We kind of touched on this before, but can you unpack that a little more?
It's about being more intentional with our prayers, going beyond just generic pleas and tailoring them to specific needs.
Okay, so how would that work in a real situation?
Say you're faced with a really difficult decision and you need some serious wisdom. Instead of just asking for help, you could call upon Allah as Al-Hakim, acknowledging his perfect wisdom and asking for guidance.
So you're invoking the name that aligns with what you're asking for.
Exactly. Each name becomes a tool for a different need, feeling lost and need direction. Call upon Al-Hadi, the guide. Overwhelmed by your own weakness, seek strength from Al-Aziz, the mighty.
Wow, it's like a whole new way to approach prayer.
It is. And the second purpose, contemplating these names, gives us a deeper understanding of Allah's qualities.
Okay, so it's not just about knowing the names, but about really thinking about what they mean.
Exactly. It's about moving from surface level to deep contemplation. Reflecting on Al-Ghafar, the forgiving, might lead you to ponder the immensity of his mercy. Or contemplating Al-Adl, the just, might make you think about how his justice is woven into the very fabric of the universe.
So it's like each name gives us another piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. And the more you understand his qualities, the stronger your connection with him becomes.
Okay, that makes sense. And the third purpose on our list is about cultivating noble characteristics. We talked about al-Sabur, the patient, earlier, but any other examples of how reflecting on a name can lead to personal growth?
Absolutely. Take Al-Karim, the most generous. When you reflect on Allah's endless generosity, it might inspire you to be more generous yourself.
Oh, I like that, whether it's giving charity or your time or just being kinder to people.
It's about seeing those qualities you admire in Allah and trying to bring them into your own life.
Beautiful. Okay, and finally we have the fourth purpose, which is finding comfort during difficulties.
This one's so important, especially these days when it feels like everyone's going through something.
So how can reflecting on these names help us when times are tough?
Well, when you're facing a challenge, remembering Allah as Al-Qawi, the strong, can remind you he has the power to help you through anything. Or reflecting on Al-Wakil, the trustee, can bring comfort knowing that you can trust him to guide you.
It's like accessing this infinite source of strength and support just by calling upon his names.
Exactly. It's about anchoring yourself to Allah's unwavering qualities, especially when you feel like you're losing your own strength.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've gone from the basics of what these divine names and attributes are to Ibn al-Qayyim's incredible insights to how they can really impact our lives in such practical ways.
It's amazing, isn't it? And as we wrap up, it makes me think, which of these names speaks to you the most right now? Like in this moment, which attribute of Allah resonates most deeply with your heart?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It is. And how can reflecting on that name guide your thoughts and actions going forward? I think that's something worth pondering.
It definitely is. Lots to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time.